Council. This meeting is being held remotely and also in person and will be filmed and recorded for live and subsequent broadcast available through the Council's website. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and the Data Protection Act 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil our public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during the process will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policies available through the Council's website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meeting protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and that comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have also received invites to the meeting. Do we have any apologies or declarations of interest for this meeting?
Provis, we have apologies from Councillor Nelson, and Councillor McCloskey indicated that he would miss the start of the meeting as well, but we tried to join. We'll move to a roll call. Can the following councillors please indicate if they're present at the meeting? Councillor Armstrong.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Brennan.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Brooks.
In chamber.
Councillor Cassidy.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Clockerty.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Crowther.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Curley.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Daisley.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Jackson.
In the chamber.
Councillor Law.
Present remotely.
Councillor McCabe.
Present in chamber.
Councillor McCloskey. Councillor McCormick.
Present remotely.
Yeah, that. Councillor Maguire.
Present in chamber.
Provis McKenzie.
In the chamber.
Councillor McVeigh.
In chamber.
Councillor Moran.
In the chamber.
Councillor Quinn.
Present remotely.
Councillor Reynolds.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Robertson.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Wilson.
Present in the chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you very much. I have a connection at item number 9 as a director of Inverclyde Homes and Inverclyde Council. Although we don't normally get a clear interest, my contribution to the matter of the council today, I would be challenged not to use privileged information that I have received as a member of Inverclyde Homes board. So for that reason, I will withdraw from the meeting and any discussion or voting thereafter.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Is there any other declaration of interest? Councillor Brooks.
Yes, again, the same agenda item. I'm a main board director of Blackfield Housing Association, which is a subsidiary of Link. Councillor Daisley is about to join me on that board at Blackfield Housing Association. There is a connection to the agenda item, but I don't think it's strong enough. I mean, that should leave the chamber process.
Thank you. Councillor Curley.
Thank you, Provis. Again, agenda item number 9. Be virtually about this council. I'm a board member of Inverclyde Homes. Having consideration of the matter, I believe I'm content to remain in this chamber to a discussion of item number 9, but I just wish to record a connection.
Thank you, Councillor Curley. Are there any more declarations of interest? Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda, the minutes of the meetings of the Inverclyde Council committees, subcommittees, panels and boards. For the Inverclyde Council meeting on the 20th of April, pages 119 to 124, I will move that is a true and proper record. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The General Purposes Board special meeting held on the 21st of April, page 125. Councillor Moran, please. Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The Audit Committee meeting held on the 25th of April, 126 to 128. Councillor Wilson, please.
I move this as a true record, Provis.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there anybody otherwise minded? The Social Work and Social Care Scrutiny Panel on the 27th of April, 129 to 131. Councillor Brennan, please.
I move that this is a true record, Lois.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? The planning board held on the 3rd of May, 132 to 138, Councillor McVeigh.
Move that be record, Lois.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? The local review body held on the same day, 139 to 142, Councillor McVeigh.
Move that be record, Lois.
Thank you. Anybody otherwise minded? The Environment Regeneration Committee held on the 4th of May, 143 to 147. Councillor McCormick, please.
I move this as a true record, promised.
Thank you, Councillor McCormick. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The special meeting of Inverclyde Council held on the 4th of May, 148 to 149. I will move that is a true and proper record. Is there anybody otherwise? Thank you. Education and Communities Committee on the 9th of May, 150 to 154. Councillor Cofferty, please.
I move this as a true record, promised.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? The General Purposes Board held on the 10th of May, 155, 156. Councillor McMahon, please.
Lois, I move it's a true record.
Is there anybody otherwise minded? The Inverclyde Council special meeting held on the 18th of May, 157, 158. I will move that is a true and proper record. Is there anybody otherwise minded? I will do likewise for the Inverclyde Council special meeting held on same day, 159 to 160. Have we agreed? Policy and Resources Committee, 161, 165, held the 23rd of May. Councillor McCabe, please.
I move the minutes to record, Lois.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? The Local Police and Fire Scrutiny Panel, 25th of May, 166 to 168. Councillor Wilson, please.
I move this as a true record, Lois.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. Within these minute approvals, there are certain pieces that apply to the business, the appendix, which was discussed in private session. Will there be anybody bringing anything forward for discussion in private session? That's fine. Thank you. The notices to do so later on. Item 3 in the agenda, page number 1. It's the appointment of the chair and membership of the Integration Joint Board. Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Provost. Through you. So, hopefully the report is self-explanatory. Looking for the council to appoint the chair of the Integration Joint Board that will rotate every 2 years between the NHS and the council, and also looking for council to confirm its membership of the Integration Joint Board. Councillor Robertson having intimated her decision to swap the membership with Councillor Reynolds. I'm happy to take any questions.
Is there any questions for Mr. Strachan? Can we approve the recommendations? Thank you. Item number 3, and item number 4, the administrative arrangement cycle of council committees, subcommittee panels and board meetings to June 2024. This is on page number 5. Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Provost. Yes, so this is a normal report we bring forward to approve the schedule of committee cycles up until next June. In line with previous arrangements, we look to avoid school holidays and the like. We set that out in the report and the basis upon which we prepared the cycle. A couple of things I've noticed that just on page 10, the date for the issuing of the agenda of the audit committee and the second line there should be the 11th of August. So we'll get that picked up. Just note that. And 2 other things in line with the
Sorry, Ian, what was that?
it's on page 110, 10, Councillor Wilson, the date of the issuing of the agenda of the audit committee for the August meeting. The papers will go out on the 11th. I think we've got it as the 4th here.
Okay,
Yeah. In connection with the audit committee, we're proposing a private meeting be arranged. That's in accordance with a report and update to set the guidance on the operation of audit committees that was approved by our audit committee. So we'll set that up if members are in agreement following the summer recess. And finally, my apologies that with proposed shifting of the social care scrutiny panel to a Tuesday from a Thursday, I should have consulted with the opposition. And apologies that I omitted to do that, so that's my mistake. But otherwise, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions regarding this agenda item for Mr. Shanklin? Thank you. Can we approve the recommendation of page 6? Thank you. Item 5 of the agenda, financial strategy update by the Chief Financial Officer. This is on page 15. Mr. Pucker, please.
Thank you, Provost, and good afternoon, everyone. This financial strategy refresh takes into account the latest economic assessments by both the UK and Scottish governments, both of which indicate the financial challenges which undoubtedly lie ahead. The strategy will form the start point for the next budget, with the first meeting of the Members' Budget Working Group due by the end of this month. And the report seeks that in order to partially mitigate the increasing capital pressures, Council is asked to approve the allocation of an extra £100,000 per year from 2026 to 2031 to fund 1.5 million per year extra prudential borrowing. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Provost.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Pucker? Councillor McKay, please.
Yeah, thanks, Provost, and thanks to Alan for the report. Pretty depressing reading as usual. No surprise to us, I suppose, either. Very clear that we're going to face some very tough decisions in the coming months and years. But I was just going to ask in terms of page 27 of the papers, Alan's obviously given us an overview of the latest forecast, the detailed forecast from the Scottish Government, and he was mentioned in paragraph 4.7 about the potential for, I suppose, a reduction of ring fencing, and there are discussions on the between Scottish Government and board looking for that. It talks about giving us greater flexibility to target funding which is needed at local level. We'd be interested to get a sort of perspective, and if we do end up where the amount of ring fencing is significantly reduced, what opportunities does that potentially present to us? I know it's not going to mean we're going to have to make cuts, but what opportunities does it mean, I suppose, in terms of choices?
Mr. Pucker?
Thank you, through you, Provost. I would estimate, and I think I was asked specifically at the budget meeting, that probably over 60% of our budget is now mandated or ring-fenced. And obviously the largest elements in there are the contribution to the IJB, which is well over £60 million. Our teachers' budget, which is well over £40 million. Now we've got pupil support assistance in there. You've got early years, which is about £10 million. So they're the large areas. Now, I'm not advocating that these would be open for, should be areas where funding is reduced, but it would at least give members the opportunity to consider potential reductions in these areas, as well as the remaining budgets, which obviously have taken proportionate cuts in previous years. So, professionally, my view is at a time when money is tight, optimising flexibility as to how that limited funding can be used is the next best thing to increasing funding.
Thank you, Mr. Pucker. Are there any other questions? Councillor Wilson, please.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear our party's stance on ring fencing. We believe there's too much ring fencing within the budgets in the council, and something needs to be done about it. We've taken far too many savings in the past just from certain services. It needs to be spread a bit further in future, and one way of doing that is to ease up on ring fencing. So we would be very supportive of that. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any other questions for Mr. Pucker? Councillor Curley, please.
Thank you, Provost. Just with respect to the proposed loans for capital funds, I just want to confirm that the 1.5 million a year from the £100,000 loans charges, does that equate to, is that £1.5 million a year recurring additional borrowing? So it would be £7.5 million in total over the 5 years?
Spoken.
Yes, through you, each year £100,000, which would be added to the budget, would generate 1.5 million of additional borrowing. So in 5 years, the loans charges budget will be £500,000 a year higher, and the capital programme would have 7.5 million more spending power.
Thank you. You okay with that, Councillor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Fogarty.
Yeah, thanks. Alan Roberts, Christ. No, it's actually on the same subject, and I think it's important for us as elected members when we see something like this and we talk about potential borrowing of 100,000. There's only one way we can make that up, and that is either by extra council tax or by cuts in service. So although it's a line or a recommendation in this, it's got implications here, because if I'm right, that you'll be able to tell us how much that 500,000 equates to in council tax, Alan, or from an elected member's point of view, it is an extra 500,000 in cuts that we're going to need to make over that period of time. So although we see it as a line in this paper, I think it's relevant to us to make sure we understand that equates to either further cuts in services or a further increase in council tax. And that's to plug the hole in a capital programme that is done by no fault with the council.
Thank you. Is that a question for?
Well, Alan, sorry, Alan might give a comment on the 500,000, what that equates to in council tax.
Thank you. Ms. Buchan.
Thank you, Provost. Yeah, if I could comment slightly wider than what it equates to in council tax, which is about 1.5%. The very real issue with capital, and for many years we have managed the capital programme tightly, and we've had just enough resource to maintain our asset base. Because of the additional demands on the capital programme, due to obviously significant increases in inflation, you know yourselves how much the cost of wood or getting work done or concrete or these sorts of things have gone up in price. You know, inflation in capital is 20, 25, 30%. We've got flat cash settlements for 5 years, so our money goes less far. We've then got the requirements of net zero, where we've already set aside £3 million. So this extra 1.5 million a year doesn't close the gap just to maintain our existing assets. And I've alluded to it in here, and it will be a theme through the forthcoming budget. We need to significantly review our asset base as a council, because we can't afford to maintain all the assets that we have. So whilst Councillor Clockety is exactly right, this will cost money. We cannot afford to, in capital terms, to maintain the asset base we've got. So one way or another, there's going to have to be cuts. There's either going to have to be cuts in terms of capital and cuts in terms of our asset base, or there's going to have to be increased revenue funding, and as a result, increased council tax or reductions in revenue funding, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Buchan. Thank you, Councillor Fogarty. Is there any further questions? Can we agree the recommendation therefore on page 15? Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda. The pledge to make Inverclyde Council a trauma-informed organisation. Speak, please.
Thank you, Provost, and good afternoon, everyone. This paper is asking for a leadership pledge to make the Council a trauma-informed organisation. The leadership pledge of support is coordinated by the NHS Education for Scotland and the Scottish Government. The first part of section 3 gives the background to trauma and the national context, but perhaps I could take your attention to 3.18, where Inverclyde has set up a trauma-informed responsive practice strategic group, where the council is working with the third sector and the police and other partners to make sure there is a consistent approach to dealing with those who've experienced trauma across Inverclyde. So we're asking the council to agree with the recommendations in 2.1 of the report and to become a trauma-informed organisation.
Thank you. Are there any questions for speakers? Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you, Provost. It's not so much a question, it's more of a comment. I'm so pleased to see that this report coming through from Ms. Banks, and that's our job here to support it. we see in the paper a figure of 60% of the UK population affected by trauma, and I know from personal experience, like many of us here will do, that you can also describe it as a club that you don't really want to be in. And I think here in Inverclyde it's probably quite a big club, and we know that that can lead to generations of what I would describe as lost boys and girls, often turning into grown adults and passing on intergenerational trauma through no fault of their own. So I doubt that anybody here today is going to disagree with anything in this report, but I think it's also important to personally pledge to live out the words in this report through our deeds and our words, and we can commend and support officers for all the work that they're doing here, and hopefully that will ultimately lead to better outcomes, to use the term in the report. But those better outcomes, when we talk about that, we're really talking about human beings and better lives for those human beings. So it's there in the decisions and the minutes that we approved earlier on, that trauma-informed practice. It's there in the financial discussions we have, or in the housing discussions that we'll have later on. And I think, as well as having so many wonderful attributes here in Inverclyde, we can't help but be trauma-informed, because we know how much it is there around us, but actually embedding it and weaving it into all of our work is just a really important step. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Robertson, then Councillor McGuire, please.
Thank you, Provost. Wholeheartedly agree with what Councillor Brennan has said there. There's absolutely no disagreement there in terms of that. We've been asked to take a leadership role in promoting this, and it's not to change what's here, but I just hope that when we look at Inverclyde being a trauma-informed place, that we take it beyond training opportunities for people, that we truly do embed it. As Councillor Brennan said, that we go beyond, that we've trained our staff, that we really do live this. And I would ask further that as we set the culture and we help to influence the culture of what happens across our organisation and in our community, that we would be in a position where, by being trauma-informed, we never fall into the trap of keeping people in a place of their trauma, where we make them revisit it and revisit it and revisit it. That we understand what trauma does, we understand what trauma is, we understand the impact that it has on people's lives. We don't make them have to relive it every time we meet with our services, meet with our staff, or engage with our partners. So it's an absolute endorsement of what's here, but just a call for us to do what we do in Inverclyde and take things that little step further, Provost. A little bit of added value, that when we're trauma-informed, that we do embed it and that we don't put people in a place of trauma.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Provost. Broadly echoing what my colleagues were saying there, I welcome this report and the steps that we are taking. In my professional capacity as a children's youth worker, I became aware of adverse childhood experiences, which turned out that I've actually had a few of those, which I won't go into today. But as Councillor Brennan said, we will be working with people every single day that have had these experiences. And I think the fact that this report touches on having a joined up and consistent approach, that's what's needed in our areas. An approach that will see every single individual being cared for and nurtured through the services we deliver, through our schools, through our care at home, through even our employment of people. And I think that so often trauma can be a stigmatised issue, and some people maybe don't realise just how deep it can go. It can be something like losing somebody quickly that's close to you, or it can maybe be something that happened when you were a child that you might not fully remember yourself, but maybe embedded in your body. So I think that this report touches so many important things, and I'm really welcoming the training that we're going to get through this, and I hope that we can become a more inclusive council and a more diverse council through this. But hopefully we can encourage our constituents to become the best version of themselves, meeting them where they're at and enabling them to feel like they're not stigmatised in any way through this. So thank you for the work that you're doing on that. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Councillor McGuire. Councillor Brooks and Councillor McCabe, please.
Thanks very much, Provost. Yeah, I'm happy to associate myself with the contributions that I already made in chamber today. Obviously, as I look at 5.2, I also reflect 3.6, the £6 million for structural government. But we've gone into this national lotteries and 682,000 and 3.14 there are 1.6 million. So they're not at cost of making this happen. So my challenge, my question to us is, why are we going to do it 0-3? Are we putting money in our mouths? Do we need the extra money? Although budgets are challenging, but why is 5.2 blank? Is it just we're putting other training and spend on this sort of training? I was surprised that if we really believe this, why is 5.2 blank?
Thanks.
Provost. A lot of the money is going into creating the training materials. So there are different levels of trauma-informed practice, trauma-informed, trauma-aware, and the NES, the NES Education for Scotland, has produced a lot of the education materials. So the cost to the council for doing the training is zero. Of course, there is time, depending on the level of awareness. But if you're becoming trauma aware for people who are perhaps picking up the phone, then the course is fairly short. So it's a short amount of time. You devote more time, the more trauma informed you become. So actually, when we were challenged on this before, we're actually saying that the spend for the council is at this moment of time zero.
Okay, thanks. Councillor McKay.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. I very much welcome this report and the recommendations, and obviously would endorse the things that my colleagues have said. We had some experience in the Labour group the other night of meeting with a couple of colleagues from the Wave Trust, and I think there is nothing more powerful than learning from the lived experience of people and really understanding what trauma means in practice and the impact it can have on people's lives. But I think it is important just to build on the recommendations. I think it's important we just certainly don't agree these recommendations, and that's it. I think it's important that we do, when we get regular reports in terms of progress. I think an annual report would be sufficient. And given the fact that it's brought to the council, and I know it's across that thing that will across all our services, I think it's really important that those reports are back to the council. So I think it would be useful to have a report back to the council in 12 months' time and the progress, and we've made it, as Councillor Robertson said, and embedding this approach within the council.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. Thank you, members. Can we therefore agree the recommendation on page 63? Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda, the second review of Scottish Parliament boundaries, provisional proposals for constituencies. Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Provost. So as we've set out there, the reports from the Council of the provisional proposals for constituencies from Boundaries Scotland. The proposed new boundary encompasses the whole of Inverclyde Council area within one county, and proposing to change the name from being an Inverclyde to Inverclyde County Constituency. There's more detail in the report, and recommending that Council considers it, and then considers whether it's appropriate for the Council to respond. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Strachan? Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Provost. My party very firmly support this move, Mr. Strachan, to have an Inverclyde constituency, an Inverclyde County constituency. We firmly believe that with the addition of the good people of Kilmacombe and Quarriers, this now becomes a constituency that we can win. I wouldn't say that we walk it, but we do fancy our chances in this, so we are very supportive of this motion. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Are there Councillor McKay, please?
Well, there's not really a motion at this moment, Councillor Wilson. Some of my colleagues wouldn't necessarily share your enthusiasm for Kilmacombe what has been in the Inverclyde, because they will have to be in this case. But I want to propose that we do actually respond to the consultation and support the proposals. I do think they make sense. Unfortunately, it's a reflection of the fact that our population has fallen, and therefore the number of electors have fallen. I did think at the outset of the Scottish Parliament, when we did have a bit of Inverclyde in another constituency, that having two constituency MSPs were beneficial. And the first constituency MSP we had was the late Trick Gordon, who was a very strong advocate and voice for Inverclyde, as well as the Renfrewshire part of our constituency. And I don't want to upset the spirit of this meeting, but I'm not convinced that the previous MSP, or indeed the current MSP for Renfrewshire North and West,
do particularly show a lot of interest in Inverclyde, I have to say. And maybe that's a reflection of the fact that it is a fairly Kilmacolm for us is a fairly marginal part of the constituency, and there aren't necessarily huge political issues in Kilmacolm and Corners, as myself and Councillor Wilson and Councillor Carney can testify to. I certainly think the current MSP for Inverclyde shows a very strong interest in Inverclyde. So, like Councillor Wilson, we will be seeking to replace him at the next election. But I do think we get a lot of support from our regional MSP, and I think that goes cross party as well. I think the regional MSPs, particularly I have to say in this parliament, the previous parliament, are very, very much supportive of Inverclyde and very much regularly raise issues in Inverclyde in Parliament. As I say, it is a bit of a sad reflection of our fallen population that we cannot justify having two elected directly represented constituency MSP. But I think, given that this is a sensible proposal, it obviously reflects the current Westminster parliamentary boundaries, and those boundaries are going to change at the next election because, again, of our fallen population and the change in the boundaries. But I will formally move that we do respond to the consultation and express support for proposals.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Therefore, I take it that.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Therefore, members being content with the proposals, can we agree the recommendations on page 71? Item number 8, the stopping up of road and footpath number 5, Arthur Street Greenup Order 2022. It's a remit from the Environment and Regeneration Committee. Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Provost. So, in the usual way with the number of these reports, councillors, the council to approve the confirmation of that stopping up order, and also approving a proposed procedure with associated amendments to the scheme delegation, so that where there are stopping up orders with no maintained objections, that authority is delegated to myself to confirm those, and we make the appropriate updates to the scheme of delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Strachan. Can we therefore agree that Councillor Carney, please?
Just a point on that with respect to engagement with the elected members, would that stop elected members seeing this before the order went out for public consultation?
So you guys, well, I don't think we're proposing to change what we currently do. That's in the current practice.
Thank you. Anybody else? Can we agree the recommendations on page 17? Thank you. Item number 9. Thank you, Councillor Brooks.
You need to consider.
No. Item number 9. Riverclyde Homes. Notice of motion by Councillor McLean on page 87. Councillor Mr. Strachan, please, before I go to Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thanks. I don't think I've spoken to some councillors about this, but I've got nothing else to add at this time.
Thank you. Councillor McLean, please.
Thank you very much, Provost. Thank you for taking a motion. Provost, I've been dealing with Riverclyde Homes since 2014, when I was chair of the North South West Community Council. And I work closely with the local housing officers who do and still do a very good job there, as do many of the frontline staff. And we did get things done over the years. And I fully accept, obviously, the Riverclyde Homes do well in other aspects of their business. I fully accept that. But this motion is about repairs, long-term repairs, and this motion is about people and the impact the lack of these long-term repairs is having on them. It's not the strategies and policies and spreadsheets, statistics. It's about people. And I have thought long and hard before I brought the motion forward for quite a while, and I've been frustrated and more frustrated because despite engaging with the Riverclyde Homes at all levels, up to including the chief executive, at all levels, I've still had constituents waiting for years and repairs, and they're living in homes that are damp and some of them in very, very poor condition. And I've seen that effect. But on one particular case, it took 5 years to resolve Provost, and maybe 3 years in, the lady phoned me up and she was crying because She could be on her big phones and she was waiting responses and she told people to phone her back and they didn't phone her back and she was really upset and it wasn't very pleasant. And then further down the line on that promise, we were getting nowhere again. And I suggested to her that, well, we'll go to the Telegraph and see if we can share her into doing something. And she agreed to that. And she called me back the next day and she was quite upset because she'd spoken to her son and he was totally against it. He didn't want to go to the Telegraph at all. I understand why, Provost, because he was embarrassed. He was embarrassed to see the condition of the property. There was mould, black walls in the hallway, in the bathroom, in his bedroom was particularly bad, and I've seen it, Provost. And these are the consequences. These are maybe we don't see when we're dealing with these issues. And they're not just in my ward, Provost. I mean, you can look at yesterday's Telegraph, Ward 3, similar situation, very bad, and we look at the Green Telegraph, Provost, we see regularly, not just recently, over a period of time, over years, we're seeing people living in poor house conditions with awaiting repairs or complaints are not being done in time, and even speaking to other councillors, I mean, they have shared experiences, similar experiences, what I'm seeing as well. So something's going to change, Provost, and I think it's time we have this debate. I think this has gone too long, it's been right in front of our faces. And I think we had to help some of the folk who have got these long-term issues. And I'll call on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they're an elderly couple who stay in the Clontarf area. Lovely couple, lovely people, the type of people who probably never missed a rent payment in their life when they were with council and then they were homes. You know, they do the garden, they sweep the path, you know, all this type of stuff, they walk the stairs, you know, just an ideal neighbour. If you could pick somebody that would like to be a neighbour, we'd probably pick them because they're very, very good. And I met them in 2018, Provost, and they told me they had reported a damp position in 2012. 2012. Now, their daughter lived down south, she'd been raised on Inverclyde phones. I've been involved for the last 5 years, right? And Provost, that issue's still not solved. Still not solved. 11 years, that issue still damaged. How can that still be? That's just dreadful, Provost, dreadful. In another case which I'll share with you, Provost, I remember in the fancy plan area, 2016 her issue started. And it was ongoing, it was you need to open your windows, you need to put dehumidifiers in. And finally in 2020, Inverclyde Home said, okay, the problem with insulation outside the walls, so we removed the insulation and never penny in for 2 years. 2 years that girl had to live with no insulation, 2 winters she had to live. Eventually Inverclyde Home did agree that they would pay a portion of her gas bill. But that was a very interesting case, Provost, because there was an extensive survey carried out by an eminent professor, and I have the report here, Provost, and he made several recommendations. I'm just going to give you one very quick quote from the report, Provost, if you don't mind. Quote, the current very poor thermal performance and lack of adequate ventilation provision are such that the dwelling is subject to dampness and mold growth, and the health effects of these conditions are well established. These defects will constitute nuisances, and accordingly the dwelling cannot be considered to be in reasonably tenantable or habitable condition. Provost, that young mother still stays in that house, and as my understanding, none of the recommendations from that eminent professor's report have been implemented. Something's got to change, Provost. But we'll move on to Main Street, Provost. The Ward 7 equivalent of Clune Park, only on a smaller scale, and maybe not with all the complications that we know we're well versed with in Clune Park. Ongoing since 2016, simple strategy, buy back the houses and demolish. Now it took a while to get the houses bought back to the absentee landlord, and I fully accept that. 2020, all done and dusted, we're going to be demolished. Then we were told the flat they were to be sold. Then we were told they won't be sold. Residents continually complaining, promised, we heard nothing. And eventually I wrote to the Scottish Government myself, and they came back to me and they said, this was just a door hold because Inverclyde Homes have failed to provide the requested information to the Scottish Government. Shambles, promised. Shambles. Right. These flats continue to deteriorate, and now they're magnets for flag tippers and vandals. And this is what probably gets to even more, Provost, is that on the 21st of April, I wrote to Inverclyde Homes at senior level and I requested an update on Neil Street and some of the cases I've spoken about today. No response. That's the email sent. No response. We're not getting a response, it's councillors. What chance of ordinary people got? Something's got to change, probably. But even like put Neil Street to one side, all people want to do is live in a home that's won in lottery. That's what the people are in for, and I don't really think that's too much to ask for us. We can't have cases going on for years and years, and it's very clear, that the failings within RCH on the subject of repairs. And it's very clear that these are affecting the residents in Inverclyde, across Inverclyde, not just in my ward. And it's crystal clear that these residents need our help. So members, if you want to make a real lasting difference to the lives of Inverclyde Homes tenants, please support this motion. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor McVeigh. Councillor McVeigh's motion is seconded by Councillor Maguire. Councillor Maguire, please.
Thank you, Provost. So I second this motion today. I, amongst others, have received case where tenants have not had their reported repairs completed. I will not go into specific locations or persons, but some examples I have, which are fairly recent but spanning a number of years and how long they've been waiting to get repaired, is a home left without a window throughout the winter months, a kitchen left without a radiator, multiple homes with mould and damp. When I say multiple, I mean multiple. There are other ward area issues like the new street flats. Once a vibrant part of a ward, they now sit empty and unused. I'm not commenting on what they should be used in the future, as a member of the planning board that would be remiss of me. However, they have fallen into a state of almost complete disrepair, and now there are reports of antisocial behaviour at flats. In the past, Inverclyde Home did have plans for these blocks, and I do believe that they did have plans for them. I spoke to some representatives earlier this week and raised this issue amongst others ahead of today's meeting, and I am aware that they have periodically visited the site in Neil Street, but even so, we've had no news of what will happen to the site for a considerable period of time. Myself and Councillor McVeigh are asking for meaningful progress and decisions to be made on the outstanding repairs in Neil Street flats. This is my second term, and I've seen cases increase from social landlord tenants. All myself, and I'm sure every person in this room wants to see, is our constituents living in safe communities with homes that are not waiting significant periods of time to get major repairs done. I know Inverclyde Homes have had their challenges, some very similar to ourselves and other local businesses and charities. Issues of maintenance services, scarcity of building materials, and especially throughout COVID when they couldn't access people's homes. I understand they've made good progress on their backlog from COVID, but that doesn't help those who are living in homes that are cold and damp and sometimes even windowless. I recognise that Inverclyde Homes have contributed quality new homes to the area, and that their staff have consistently been trying to help people and families with the pressures that many in our community are facing at this time through the cost of living and beyond. This is not to detract from this good work, but to ensure that people in my ward across Inverclyde can rest assured that we're doing everything we can to work with our resident social landlords to ensure that their homes are safe and habitable. I hope that this motion helps open up a further dialogue about Neil Street flats and other concerns so that we can work co-productively together to make Greenock South West and beyond a great place to live, to rent and to rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maguire. Members will be aware that there has been an amendment, an SNP amendment to the agenda item, and that has already been circulated to you. Who would like to? Councillor Robertson, please.
Thank you, Provost. We would like to bring forward an amendment to the motion this afternoon. The main reason for this is that we would like to progress an action that makes a difference for the people affected by the issues raised, rather than simply communicating to a partner that we're not happy with them, which is what the wording of Councillor McVeigh and Councillor Maguire's motions asks us to do. Partnership, as we all appreciate, is hard work. It's rewarding, and it's a real strength here in Inverclyde. In fact, we've got a delegation down in London right now emphasising that very point about our area on a national stage. Partnership is about challenge and support, and there should always be channels through which communication can take place when the challenge needs to be brought or when support is needed. Provost, when it comes to any of our partners, including in the housing sector, we know that there are often issues that we must raise on behalf of our constituents. And the reason that we don't feel that we can support the motion today is that we feel we already have the communication routes, the mechanisms and channels of recourse available to us to legitimately bring up those concerns when they do arise, and that in general these work. Like our own council systems and processes, there's always room for improvement, but I think our approach to the issue before us today should be solution focused, and we believe that ours is to deal with this as a systemic concern. Promise we're asking colleagues to consider whether they want the motion today to make a point or to make a difference. We can either use the opportunity this afternoon to tell an RSL that we're not happy with them, or we can ask our housing partners to provide us with the relevant information to get to the heart of addressing some significant and long-term housing concerns for our constituents that we have been raising. Partnership is about communication, but it's also about staying in the room, whether that's about staying in the RCH boardroom to be part of the solution, or taking up the myriad offers of ongoing communication and dialogue that, in my experience, our partners, including our RSLs, offer to us about any of the issues that we raise on behalf of others. Promise the wording of our amendment has been circulated to colleagues. Our suggestions, I believe, allow for actual accountability to be put in place to deal with recommendations that are as yet unaddressed that Councillor McVeigh has referred to this afternoon. We ask that our amendment be supported to keep driving improvement in a practical way for tenants across Inverclyde.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask Councillor Crowther to second the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Crowther, please.
Thank you, Provost. First of all, I'd actually like to thank Councillor McVeigh for bringing the attention to the many of the issues we have with Inverclyde Homes. But unfortunately, what he is focused on is solely Inverclyde Homes. Now, we have other RSLs, and we also have similar issues with the RSLs. What the amendment does is it broadens this out, and we can, and if we support the amendment, the issues that we have with Inverclyde Homes, we also have these issues with other RSLs, and we can bring it to their attention as well. And I believe that by doing so, this will also help the local development plan as well. When we're looking at the aspect of housing, we should broaden it out rather than narrow it down. When we look at the flats at Neil Street, yes, there are major problems with them. But what we also have to look at, we did have planning applications that were in front of us. Those planning applications were for the demolition of 4 out of the 5 properties. We also at Inverclyde Homes did have them up for sale. Now, I do not know the full implications of the housing stock transfer. What was the legalities that were put in? Was there any burdens put on there that we are unaware of? Now, the SNP were not members. We had no representation at all when the housing stock transfer went through. We also have issues, if we can bring it as well, with the right to buy. That right to buy is giving us major problems as well. I have dealt with issues, again, with the likes of Molten Properties, with other repairs. I have brought it to the attention of Inverclyde Homes. Inverclyde Homes have come back to me, and to carry out those repairs, yes, they have to involve, especially in the likes of tenemental properties, they have to involve all the other tenants. And if the other tenants are not willing to pay for any of the costs, or indeed those Inverclyde Homes are in a minority, there is little that they can actually do. We'll have to look at the overall picture, and we do have channels in which we can do that. In fact, we Inverclyde Homes have set up meetings on a ward-by-ward basis. That is one of the channels that we can use to bring this to their attention, as well as writing. And I know that they are trying to set up a meeting with Ward 7, which I will be in attendance, and it's issues such as this that I will be raising. Members, I would ask you to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. If there's any other member wish to take this, please.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come in, Provost. And just to correct Councillor Crowther, Inverclyde Homes stock transfers that took place in December 2007, at which time there were 5 elected members on the council who were members of the SNP.
Okay, I stand
and they all supported whatever like home stock transit. Now I don't criticise them for that because I arguably was the political champion for the stock transfer to Inverclyde Homes. I didn't want to see the stock broken up and transferred to the existing housing association. I was in favour of a full stock transfer to, apart from a small estate in Longboard and Walking Hill, which was a separate transfer to thought. So I've got a lot of political capital vested in the success of Inverclyde Homes, and nobody in this chamber wishes Inverclyde Homes to be a successful organisation more than me. It's had a challenge in history, no doubt, and I've been on the board at various times to try and play a role in taking things forward, and I think colleagues have recognised that there has been significant improvements in the quality housing stock in Inverclyde as a result of stock transfer and as a result of the investment that's flowing from that. And I think Inverclyde Homes has done a lot of good work in a range of areas, particularly what we call the wider role agenda and supporting tenants as well. And I think it's loads and loads of very good committed people working for Inverclyde Homes who are really day in, day out trying to make a difference, absolutely trying to make a difference. I have to say, I don't have a difficulty with the amendment. I don't have a difficulty with the amendment for a second. I think everything in the amendment's fine. I absolutely value Inverclyde Homes and the RSLs as a key partners for the council. If this motion had come forward separately and had went even to the Environment Regeneration Committee, I would have had no hesitation in supporting that. I wouldn't have a hesitation in supporting it as an amendment to the motion that's before us, but I know there's no willingness in either party to achieve that consensus. But if the amendment falls, I don't know if the amendment will fall, but if the amendment falls, I would be happy for the movers of the amendments to bring that forward, as I say, either to the council or to the Environment Regeneration Committee. I think the motion that's been brought forward is born out of frustration, and it's because after how many 14 years of stock transfer or whatever, that Inverclyde Homes isn't delivering what those of who supported its establishment were aspiring for it to deliver. Done a lot of good work, but still got a long way to go to be the organisation that we all want it to be. Now, the council's still got a long way to go to be the organisation that we want to be, and there's significant scope for improvement in the council as well. But I do think, as I say, this motion is born out of frustration, and I do think there's been attempts at individual levels. I think there's been attempts at a more strategic level to try and move things forward and help Inverclyde Homes improve. And I don't have any difficulty with this motion because, as I said, it's born out of frustration. I think it just signals to Inverclyde Homes collectively, and I accept there absolutely are challenges with other RSLs as well, and other RSLs who cover my ward. But the fundamental reality at the end of the day is, I don't know how many of us in here are Inverclyde Homes tenants. I suspect not too many. It's the tenants, it's the people who are receiving the service, who on the whole are getting a good service, and we've seen the recent satisfaction survey figures that have been shared with us, which indicate that the vast majority of tenants are happy with their home, they're happy with the services they're getting, are happy in general, content with the organisation. But we do regularly get cases that I think we would all admit in our wards, they aren't delivering the service that tenants should expect and are paying for. And there are too many examples of it taking too long to complete repairs, or tenants maybe not getting, I suppose, the understanding that they should get, and you all get it. I mean, and I accept the point that was made with Natasha. COVID absolutely had an impact, but these issues predate COVID. There's no doubt about the predate COVID. And I do think that it is incumbent on us collectively, and that's why I'm prepared to support the motion collectively, to speak up for our tenants and to say that Inverclyde Homes does need to significantly improve the quality of, in particular, of the repair services provided, and does need to address some of these issues that are again name treated, and there are other examples of projects that are taking too long. And I don't think it's not intended, and I think we've up to now we've had a fairly moderate debate, and I hope that continues. It's not intended to have a go at Inverclyde homes. It's not intended to be overly critical. It's about trying to get progress for tenants and trying to get a better deal for the tenants and a better service. And I think there are just too many examples where they aren't delivering particular repairs, and I think there needs to be systematic look at that, and there needs to be significant improvement. So for those reasons, I'm prepared to support the motion. As I said, I would hope we could have found a consensual position, but we're not going to achieve that. But if we move as an amendment, and if the amendment's not carried, as I said, I would be happy for them to bring forward that as a motion to invite regenerate.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Jacks.
Thanks, Provost. It will not surprise you to know that I'm listening to everyone Inverclyde homes. And that can only go in what I've seen as a ward councillor in a ward which has got Oak Tree and Rock, and that is that Inverclyde homes have got a large number of substandard occupied slum houses within the current housing stock, and are failing in their duty as a responsible social landlord. And I'm going to offer you just a couple of examples, and I want you to tell us this because some of these are just incredible. A flat in Lyle Street, Greenock, May 2021, a hospital consultant wrote a letter to a tenant of Inverclyde homes warning that damp and mould within her home was severely damaging her health and that she needed rehoused immediately. Fast forward 2 years, 2023, after being admitted to high dependency because of her deteriorating lung condition brought on by the dampness, the same consultant wrote again, warning that this young woman's living conditions could kill her. That this is what we're dealing with here, right? She still hasn't had to move. Now I'm still dealing with this, and just this morning we got another email from Inverclyde homes saying it's going to be another 7 weeks before they can look into this. This is in 2021. Consultant was told that it could kill her, right? A couple of years ago, a family from the East End of Greenock, within a matter of months, a combi boiler broke down 10 times, right? The last time it broke down, the carbon monoxide detector was in overdrive. It was sounding every half hour for hours on end. The fire service came out and condemned the boiler. The family, living in fear for safety, took a decision to switch it off and spent the next couple of days living with no heat and hot water. Despite this, despite the warnings of the fire service and the carbon monoxide detector, Inverclyde homes refused to replace it. Right? I got on the phone at 11 o'clock to the chief executive of this council. By 1:30, Inverclyde homes had agreed to fit a brand new boiler and a whole heating system. So it can be done. It's just the refusal to do it. Just one word, if you indulge me, Provost. A family in St Michael Street in Jimsmore, which Jim describes as, is the Greenock version of Clune Park. A family in St Michael Street, again, a damp and mouldy flat. Twin children born 6 weeks premature. The family did everything they could to get a move. The consultant, again a consultant, had to take the decision not to let the Rains move home because of the risk to their health due to their living conditions. The family were devastated and trying everything to get these kids home, and what no alternative accommodation was offered by Inverclyde homes. We had to go to Inverclyde Common Housing Resident and eventually we secured accommodation for them. This isn't just about uncomfortable living conditions. This is about risk to people's lives. Now, we've seen the warnings. We've seen what happened to the young boy down in England outside Ishard. What happened down there? Mould, damp conditions. So and there was a warning out that the UK housing social landlords had to change their way. That things from now on are going to have to change. So I fully support Councillor McVeigh's motion on this. I don't recognise these lines of communications which the SNP benches are describing here. We go to these ward meetings, but nothing comes out of them, so they don't. And what this motion does is detract from Inverclyde's failure to address the substantive condition of the housing stock. We need to focus on Inverclyde Homes. 6 years I've been as a councillor, and I get very few complaints from Oak Tree, or from Clog, or from Link, from Sanctuary, or from any other ones. I would go as far to say 100% of my complaints are all from Inverclyde Homes, in the way you've got trying to get things done, the excuse after excuse after excuse. Now, you might see us, Councillor McCabe might see us in born of frustration, but this is 6 years. So frustration might not get something done within weeks, but the failure of Inverclyde Homes is putting people's lives at risk, and we cannot ignore that. Thanks, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Provost. Representing the same ward as Councillor Jackson for the last year, I have to say that my experience has been constituents raising issues with RSLs other than the one mentioned in this motion. Now, we all have different experiences, but our difficulty with this motion is that although the intention may not be to have a go at Inverclyde Homes, I'm afraid that's the way certainly I read it. I think that is how it reads. Now, what I want to emphasise is that we want further action. That's the substance of our amendment. We want action, not just to say we're not happy with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Provost. I'd like to thank those who put forward both the motion and the amendment. I think they're both very useful. I struggle to support the second amendment because, in my experience, the problems out there really apply to one main RSL, not all of them. We've mentioned Cloak, Oak Tree, Latfield, etc. They have much less problems. I don't think need to be singled out. I think Inverclyde Homes is the problem. The problem with Inverclyde Homes, in fact, has got quite a lot to do with Inverclyde Council, because in 2004, when we were classed as the worst council in the country by Audit Scotland, part of that condemnation was our management of council housing. And at the end of it, we ended up with stock transfer. And really, we handed over council housing, then it became social housing to Inverclyde Homes. And what we handed over was not in good health. It really was not in good health. Inverclyde Homes compounded the problem by, in the early years, making some bad decisions. And they made bad decisions for the best part of a decade, which did not help their way forward. I am not going to support the amendment, but I'm quite happy in the specific point and how it was argued by Councillor McElhenney. We're quite happy to support, sorry, you're not as Councillor McElhenney.
It's McVeigh.
Give me a lead.
Councillor McVeigh.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Councillor McVeigh. I'll never live that one down. I'm quite happy, we're quite happy, or I am quite happy the motion put forward by Councillor McVeigh. I also would like to thank others for their contribution. I think it has been, as Councillor McCabe said, a very measured debate. This is not about getting at Inverclyde Homes, it's about trying to make them better. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Provost. Just very briefly, the motion itself is quite specific towards them, but it does go into broader themes especially from Inverclyde Homes' point of view. Obviously, I think Colin touched upon it, the Greenwich Town Centre, people are probably sick of hearing me about the problem, but the problem with that is more a strategic problem than individual problems with housing. But we're all an advocate for our constituents, and we all act in that on their behalf. The key things that have come out here is the idea of frustration, and you can actually sense the idea of frustration both from Councillor McVeigh, Councillor Maguire and Colin, and it is frustrating sometimes when you can't get answers. I would go back to what Councillor McCabe says. They're virtually two different motions. It's not an actual amendment to a motion. The both of them stand alone. You know, you're actually asking for one thing. The other thing is born probably the frustration of not being able to get something done specifically in their own ward area and really bring that to council to actually vent that feeling out and to see the council can get its might behind it, to get something done. So for me, the idea of supporting that motion, which stands alone, and then, as Councillor McCabe says, say, well, okay, bring that to environment regeneration. There's a lot of good points in it, but it really is a motion that can stand itself. It's still the only amendment to this motion. So I'm happy to support the motion itself. I can understand the frustration that I feel as well, and I know a lot of elected members around the table feel sometimes when they're trying to deal as advocates for their constituents against any RSL. But more importantly, I know from my own point of view, the hassle I have, not only from tenants, but also now we're dealing with the factoring problems as well. We're dealing with owner-occupiers, we're dealing with people who are now renting out their properties that were formerly council houses and then transferred to Inverclyde homes and then we get purchased as well and then moved on to private landlords. And it's that frustration that we all feel. And what's actually happened is Councillor McVeigh and Councillor Maguire has brought this to us. So I think when you're looking at this motion, it stands alone and it deserves to be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Daisy.
Thanks, Provost. I think I just want to really ask, are we really happy that what comes out of this today is a message that we are not happy? I know it's born out of frustration, I understand that. I'm frustrated as well by certain things that happen when I deal with RSLs. But there are processes we can follow, there's things we can do, and I understand what Councillor Jackson and McVeigh have said about that. But my question is, and I hope that Councillor McVeigh can sum it up, or include it in his summing up, is what is it that's going to change? What do you want to see changing, and how are we going to get that through this motion? That's the problem I've got with it. So our amendment, it is an amendment, despite what Councillor Clockerty says. It is an amendment. It asks for an improvement on the original motion, and to me it is an improvement. It's asking for detail, it's asking for specific, measurable and time-bound things, and that is a good, positive thing. And if we're going to work with these people, then we have to work with them. We can't just use a sledgehammer to crack them. It shouldn't be like that. So I want to understand what is the perception of what will change from this motion, because to me it doesn't seem like we're asking for much to change. Thanks, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor Paisley. Does any other member wish to make a contribution? Councillor McVeigh.
Yes, thank you, Provost, very much, and thank you to members for their contribution, everybody, and all three to the chamber. Just a couple of points. Provost, Councillor Crowther referred to other RSLs. He may have issues with RSLs. I certainly don't have any issues with other RSLs from a long-term basis. Yes, we get complaints now and again, and anything I've had, it's been dealt with within a decent time scale. So I have not any issue with that. Councillor Robertson talked about communication which I want to. I've tried them all, Councillor. I've tried them all. One-to-ones, involved our chief executive. I've tried them all, apart from being a carrier pigeon. I've tried everything, honestly. And you talk about making a difference and a drive to improvement. That's great. But your amendment is asking for plans and statistics. So where's that going to drive improvement? In my opinion, this has been kicked into the long grass. My motion calls for action and to develop plans and implement them. And that's what we need to do here. Because as Councillor McCabe says,
it doesn't.
Second half.
No, yeah.
So Councillor McCabe says we have to speak up for tenants, everybody, and that's what I have to do. And I know Councillor Daisy, you mentioned what changes it's going to bring. The last thing I've got a big phones. I still got a big phones, and maybe in 6 years' time, for security, the same as I do, you do have a big phones. But that's down to them. We're strategic, it's down to them to do the operation. But I would hope that they would take cognizance of this and implement something to try and resolve these issues. Because we need to resolve these issues. But and for Councillor Armstrong to say this wasn't having a go, well, if you were this lady, would you have a go? Because I said to me, this is not having a go, this is about raising issues which people and the conditions of living in. I've seen it in your ward, I've seen it in my ward, Michael Jackson certainly seen it, and I've seen quite a few people around here who have probably seen it as well. So I'm moving the motion, Promise, and let's go there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McVeigh. We have a motion and we have an amendment. Mr. Strachan, please.
Okay, thank you, Provost. So we have the motion from.
Point of order. I think during the last thing summing up, Councillor McVeigh thinks his motion actually has an action to it. His motion, his only action is the council instructs the chief executive right to Inverclyde Homes. Sorry. The only action is in his motion is this council instructs the chief executive right to Inverclyde Homes to make them aware of the council's ongoing concerns regarding the above issues. That's the action.
And hope. This council expects other people to lack of budgetary control and implement a specific action plan to resolve said issues within Ward 7 and other areas.
Right, that's not an action.
It is from Inverclyde, we're dancing on it.
Yes, I am quite content with the motion being solid and Councillor McVeigh's comments fitting in with the motion to develop and implement a specific action plans to bring forward plans and to allow the chief executive to write them. So there are plenty of actions there. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Provost. So the motion from Councillor McVeigh and then the amendment from Councillor Robertson to ask you to indicate your vote for, against, or not voting in respect to the motion or amendment. Councillor Armstrong.
Amendment.
Councillor Brennan.
Motion.
Councillor Cassidy.
Motion.
Councillor Clockerty.
Motion.
Councillor Crowther.
Amendment.
Councillor Curley.
Amendment.
Councillor Daisley.
Amendment.
Councillor Jackson.
Motion.
Councillor Law.
Amendment.
Councillor McCabe.
Motion.
Councillor McCluskey.
Motion.
Councillor McCormick. Motion. Councillor McGuire.
Motion.
Provost Mackenzie.
Motion.
Councillor McVeigh.
Motion.
Councillor Moran.
Motion.
Councillor Quinn.
Motion.
Councillor Reynolds.
Amendment.
Councillor Robertson.
Amendment.
Councillor Wilson.
Motion.
So the motion is carried by 13 votes to 7.
Thank you, members. That is the end of the formal business for today, members. Although it would be remiss of us if we were to leave here today without mentioning the fact that this is Mr. Stephen McNabb's last full council meeting, our head of HR. And we wish Mr. McNabb well for a long, happy and healthy retirement. I know from watching the football the other night there that he will not be a stranger to Inverclyde, as he will be able to visit his beloved Partick Thistle at least twice at Caplow in the coming season as they remain in the second tier of Scottish football. Mr. McNabb, we wish you very well and thank you most sincerely for your contribution to Inverclyde Council over a good number of years. Thank you very much, Steve.